SimsEclaire here and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we are recreating the house from my favorite scary movie. Now, I have a toss-up. Usually, when people ask me my favorite scary movie, it is this one, which is The Exorcist. But I also really love Halloween. Halloween actually has a special place in my heart. We will talk more about that when I do the house from Halloween. But The Exorcist, on a daily basis, is my actual favorite scary movie. I'm not 100% sure why. Like, it doesn't, like, besides it being an iconic movie and it being shot really well, and it also takes place near where I live. It takes place in Georgetown, which is in DC, and I live in Maryland, so it's, like, semi-close. I've visited the stairs that are from this movie. Like, it's actually, like, I don't know, but it's such an iconic movie, and it's so good. Like, I don't know what it is, but I just love this movie so much. I always want to watch it. Like, whenever it's on, I always leave it on. Even if it's just in, like, the background, I always have it on. But if you haven't seen The Exorcist, kind of like all my videos for this series, I would mute this video or click off of it, just because I'm going to be talking about some of the things from the movie. It's not going to be, like, super spoilers, and I mean, they're all scary movies, so you all know that they all pretty much have the same basic storyline, so it's not like you'd be going into this completely blind anyway, especially with something called The Exorcist. Like, you know what's going to happen in this movie. There's going to be an exorcism, someone's going to be possessed, most likely people are not going to make it. It's just how these movies work. But, so the house for this is a little different. As you can see from the outside, it almost looks like an apartment building, and I was talking about this with my dad, because this is like one of the scary movies that he actually watches, and we were trying to figure out exactly what this building was, and we think that it's converted townhomes. So we think that it was initially two homes that had a courtyard connecting them, or maybe even an old apartment building. But the mother in the movie is an actress, and she's a relatively well-known actress, so she does have some money, so I think that she bought the whole lot, the whole property, and just converted, whether it was old apartments or two townhomes, she converted it into one larger one. Now, I also don't even know if she owns it. Like, after I made up that storyline, I remembered that they don't actually end up staying here, so because they leave at the end of the movie, so I don't know if she sells it, or if she just lets it sit here and then, like, rents it out to people, or if she was renting this house to begin with, because she's working on a movie in the city. So part of me thinks that she was just renting this, so maybe somebody else bought it and converted the townhomes into one large home and then she rented it. But either way, we're all pretty sure that it was initially at least two townhomes that were then converted into one larger home. And this courtyard area, you don't really see it a whole lot in the movie. You just see, you know, there's the iconic scene that's actually on the cover of the movie where the priest comes and he's standing outside the door and everything's all covered in fog. If I don't end up getting to do it, this is gonna be like a total letdown, but I actually plan on trying to recreate that for the thumbnail for this video. I have the picture of, like, the same angle that they catch that at, and I'm gonna try and, like, darken it without darkening it too much, because I've noticed if you have too dark thumbnails, no one clicks on your video. So I'm gonna try to recreate it the best that I can. But you see it in that scene, and then you also see it when they're leaving. They're packing up all their stuff, and one of the other priests comes over to say goodbye, and they're in their car and they're getting ready to go. So you see the courtyard in that scene. But that's kind of where I got the majority of the basis for my external landscaping from, was from those two scenes where you can actually see the courtyard. And then going on into the inside, the floor plan of this house is really weird, but it's not weird in the same way that all the other ones have been weird, as though it doesn't make any sense. This one's just weird because there's almost like, there's no hallways, but all of the rooms connect to each other, so you have all these weird doorways and entrance, like, arches that you can, like, in the movie, in different scenes, you can see straight from one room to another. So you have to, like, I was trying to place the doors in the right spots, so that way, according to the movie, if you were looking through this door into the next room, it would be, you know, where, like, it would be where you see it. So I was trying really hard to get things to work. This one room that I'm working on right now is like the only hallway, and it's not even a hallway, it's like a seating room. I did end up putting a closet in here though, because A, I needed to cover up where those plants were merging into the house, and B, I wasn't quite sure what else to put there, because in the movie there's just like another table with a plant, and that spot is a lot bigger than what it looks like in the movie. So I do end up placing a plant here, but I put a closet there just to kind of cover up that space a little bit. And then after this, we're moving on into the piano room. Now, the majority of the interior of the house is seen, or at least this side of the house is seen, while the mother is throwing a party. And at the very end of the party, her and her closest friends come in here to the piano room, and they sit and they're all singing by the piano and having a good time. And then Regan, who is the main character, she's the actress's daughter, and she's sick. She's quote unquote sick. And she has been sick for quite a while, and the doctors aren't quite sure what it is, but she actually comes in and interrupts the, fun, lively nature of the piano party, and basically, like, threatens one of her mother's friends, because I think he's going off to war. I never quite caught that conversation, but I'm pretty sure he's about to go become a pilot in a war, or he's about to become a pilot just in general, but I'm pretty sure that this was in around the time of Vietnam, so I'm pretty sure he's about to go be a pilot in the war. And Regan basically, like, threatens him about, like, how his planes are gonna, like, how his wartime is going to end, and then she pees herself in the middle of the living room, and everyone's all like, oh my god, like, what is happening? And her mom is like, like, what is wrong with my daughter? She's never done this before. And then she takes her up to give her a bath, and she's like very unresponsive, and that's kind of when you start to kind of see the majority of the change happen. Especially since early on in the party, she's like walking through the crowd, she's being nice to guests, and then that happens, and she ends up taking her to a whole bunch of doctors, and they initially say that it's nerves, and they put her on some anti-anxiety medication, because something that they don't really explicitly say, but I guess they went to Georgetown to do this movie, like, right after her parents went through a divorce. And it was a pretty nasty divorce, too, or at least it's implied that it was. So she's very anxious, she's very nervous, and the doctor tries to kind of blame it all on that. And then afterwards, they end up doing all these tests, and none of the tests are coming back with anything conclusive. And so that's when the mom ends up trying to go to a priest. But right now we're in the kitchen, and nothing really happens in the kitchen. There is a scene, though, where the mom comes down in the middle of the night, and she's getting herself a glass of water, I think. It's either water or milk. But one of the rooms doesn't have a light on, so you can see into it, but it's all dark. And in that room, like, from where she's standing, you can kind of see, like, a set of eyes, like, watching her. And that's one of my favorite scenes, is because it's so subtle, but if you're paying attention, you can see it. And then there's also a scene in the movie where the police come to check out the house, because one of her friends, one of the ones from the party, I actually think it might be the one that Regan threatened, if I remember correctly. I think it might be him. He ends up coming over to the house and so he comes over to the house to visit the mom, and the mom has to run out for a minute. So she asks him to sit with Regan or just like watch Regan while she's gone. And when they come back, he actually fell down the set of stairs that are right next to Regan's room. And the police come to investigate, because the way that his neck was turned, it could not have been an accident. So they're questioning her, and they're asking about Regan's condition, because she's heavily sedated all the time. She's asking if there was any way, or the police are asking if there's any way she could have just missed him being in her room or somebody else being here. But that's when you kind of see Regan has all these, like, art pieces around, and they're sitting on a shelf and the table in the kitchen. She's very into art. She does all these sculptures and, like, paintings and stuff like that, and you'll see more of those downstairs, because downstairs there is a little bit of, like, a rec room, I would call it. It has the washing machine and the laundry, but it also has, like, Regan's toys and her art supplies and stuff. So I do create, like, a small little It's just a cute little area, cute little room. But I'm starting to place some of these clay sculptures around from the debug menu to, simulate the different items that she has sculpted. They're a lot bigger here in the game than the ones that she makes. Hers are like little teeny tiny figurines, but I think it's okay. And then going into here, this is the dining room. Now, the only reason I know that this is where that room is placed, because I was having issues trying to figure it out, is because in the scene where the cop is over, she actually has tea with him in this room, and behind his head you can see the kitchen. So that's kind of how I was figuring out the layout of this house, was by going through and seeing in what rooms could you see the other rooms through. But yeah, so while they're sitting in this room, you can see the kitchen. So that's why I went ahead and did this one in between here, because you can see that there's another room. The one we're going into now has wood paneling. Now you can see the living room from this room, and you can see the kitchen from the living room. So I knew that this room had to be, or not the kitchen, the dining room from the living room. So I knew that this room had to be somewhere in between the kitchen and the dining room. So I put it back here in this corner, and this is like a little makeshift office. You don't really see it that much. There's one scene where the main priest, Damien Karras, he comes in because he's kind of doing the investigating for the church to approve the exorcism of Regan, and he comes in to talk to her, or Regan's mother, about some of the things that he's found and like where they need to go from here. And so they just have like a brief little moment in that room. And then also they have a brief little moment in the downstairs laundry room as well, which is where I realized, that's how I knew that the laundry room was downstairs. But this is going to be the living room. You never really see it. You see glimpses of it through other rooms during other scenes. So I real quickly just put it together based off of the rooms that you can see. It's all very, traditional style mixed with a little bit of that 70s flair. I think, late 60s, early 70s. But yeah, so that's kind of just like, I just put that room together based on that. And then going down here, like I said, Regan does have a little bit of a play area down here. And as I was looking back, she also technically has a ping pong table, which we do have ping pong tables in The Sims. I just totally did not realize while I was decorating this room that there was a ping pong table down there, which sucks because technically the ping pong table is where she connects with Captain Howdy. And Captain Howdy is actually the demon that ends up possessing her. He just pretends to be this invisible friend of hers, and she has a Ouija board, and she was playing with it, and that's how she came in contact with Captain Howdy. And there's a scene where she tries to get Captain Howdy to talk once her mother comes home, but he refuses to, and that usually happens in scary movies. Usually, the ghosts only talk to the children. That's I think The Exorcist might have even been the first movie that did that little trope. But it's a really iconic scene, so I was kicking myself that I forgot that they had a ping pong table, but it's okay. I mean, I gave her that little art corner, so I think that it ends up working out. And then this is going to be the mother's bedroom. Now, you don't see this a lot. You just see it briefly, one scene where she gets woken up in the middle of the night to film. They have to go in super early in the morning to film, and then Regan's in her room complaining that her bed is shaking and she can't get to sleep. So I kind of just based it off of that scene, the different furniture pieces you can see in there. And I gave her a really elegant bed, a nice big closet, some makeup on the counter, some magazines. I figured she would keep up to date with things like that because, she is an actress, she is a celebrity. She'd probably be really into that. And then out here in the hallway, I'm just doing a couple of different decorations, some paintings, some artwork, some flowers, just some basic stuff. And before you guys ask, there is 3 bedrooms up here on this upstairs floor. There is there is one in the main floor in the piano room, but there is 3 up here. I just skipped over decorating them because I just copied and pasted whatever was in the bottom bedroom or the bottom bathroom, so that's why I kind of skipped over them. But that room we real quickly did was a guest room. I'm not even sure. They have they have someone who watches Regan. I think her name is Susan, and then they have a maid and a butler. And I'm not quite sure if any of them actually live in the house. They never quite say it, but I'm pretty sure Susan does, so I went ahead and did that room a little bit on the more feminine end, just because Susan in the movie is a very feminine woman. So I went ahead and gave it that edge just because I assumed that that was where she was staying. And then going into here, this is Regan's room. So this window that you can kind of see right now, this is where that man fell out, and that's where the staircase would be. But obviously, I didn't have enough space behind the house to put a staircase. I thought about it, but I didn't have enough room, so I just ended up leaving it. And then I'm putting a little seating area here because there is a bench that the mother kneels on to close this window, because this window keeps opening. Like, that's one of the things. And in the end of the movie, Damien Karras actually ends up going out that window too. He tells the demon to take him instead of Regan during the exorcism, because the elderly priest passed during the exorcism and it's only Damien left, and he's never performed an exorcism, so he just yells at the demon to possess him instead, and then he throws himself out of the window in like one last heroic act to save Regan and the world from this demon. But besides that, that is it for this video, so I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye!